What if the worst thing that ever happened to you wasn't the end of your story? What if the breakup, the rejection, the lost opportunity, the painful chapter you desperately wanted to erase was not something you needed to understand immediately, but something you could eventually learn from? Sometimes life feels completely random. One moment, everything seems to be going exactly as planned. Then suddenly something changes. A relationship ends, an opportunity disappears. Someone you trusted walks away, a dream collapses. And you're left asking, why did this happen to me? But there is another question that may change the way you see your entire life. What is this experience teaching me? Buddhism offers a profound way of looking at this question. It doesn't necessarily teach that every painful event was destined to happen or deliberately sent to us. Instead, it teaches us about causes and conditions, impermanence, karma, attachment, mindfulness, and the nature of the mind. Everything is changing. Every action has consequences. Attachment can create suffering, and even difficult experiences can become opportunities for wisdom and awakening. Nothing remains exactly as it is. Morning becomes afternoon. Afternoon becomes night. Seasons change, leaves appear, transform, and eventually fall. Our bodies change, our emotions change, our friendships change, our careers change, even our thoughts change from one moment to the next. Yet despite seeing change everywhere, we often expect our own lives to remain stable. When we're happy, we want the moment to last forever. When we're sad, we desperately want the pain to disappear. When we love someone, we secretly wish they could remain exactly as they are forever. But life never made that promise. Everything moves, everything transforms. And much of our suffering comes from fighting against this simple reality. Imagine standing beside a river. You can place your hands into the water, but you cannot make the river stop flowing. You can try to hold the water, but it slips through your fingers. Life is like that river. We suffer when we try to freeze something that was never meant to remain still. Acceptance doesn't mean that we stop caring. It means that we understand the nature of what we love. We can appreciate a beautiful moment without demanding that it last forever. We can love someone without believing that we control their journey. We can enjoy success without believing it defines us. And we can experience difficulty without believing it will last forever. Everything changes, and because everything changes, difficult moments change too. The pain you feel today is not necessarily the pain you will feel tomorrow. The situation that seems permanent may eventually become a memory. The chapter that feels like the end may simply be the beginning of another chapter. When we understand impermanence, we begin to live differently. We stop taking beautiful moments for granted, and we stop treating difficult moments as permanent destinations. Another important Buddhist teaching is karma. Karma is often misunderstood as a cosmic system of punishment and reward, but Buddhist teachings are more subtle. Karma is closely connected with intentional action. Our thoughts, words, choices, and intentions create consequences. Think about a stone thrown into a still lake. The moment it touches the water, ripples begin moving outward. One small action creates movement beyond the point where it began. Our lives work in a similar way. A harsh word can remain in someone's memory for years. A kind gesture can change someone's entire day. A repeated thought can become a habit. A habit can become part of our character. And our character influences the choices we make. This is why our inner world matters. Anger that we repeatedly nourish can influence the way we speak. Fear that we continually believe can influence the decisions we make. Compassion that we practice can gradually become part of who we are. Karma isn't about sitting back and waiting for the universe to punish someone who has done wrong. It's about understanding that our actions have consequences. Sometimes those consequences are immediate, sometimes they appear much later, and sometimes their effects are subtle. Imagine planting a seed. You don't plant it today and expect a tree tomorrow. The seed needs time, it needs water, it needs sunlight, it needs the right conditions. In the same way, our choices create conditions that influence what comes next. And this understanding gives us something incredibly important: responsibility. We may not control everything that happens to us, but we have some influence over how we respond. And every response becomes another cause. If anger appears and we respond with more anger, the cycle continues. If anger appears and we pause, breathe, and choose understanding, something different becomes possible. That pause is powerful. Because between what happens and what we do next, there can be awareness, and awareness gives us a choice. Sometimes people hear about karma and become fatalistic. They think, this is my karma, so there is nothing I can do. But that isn't the lesson. Your past influences your present, but it doesn't mean your future is completely predetermined. Every moment gives you another opportunity to create causes. You may have made mistakes. You may have hurt people. You may have wasted opportunities. You may have lived for years with anger, fear, jealousy, or resentment, but the past cannot be changed. What can change is what you do now. You can apologize, you can learn. You can become more patient, you can become more honest. You can choose compassion where you once chose anger. You can plant different seeds. You are not required to remain the person you were yesterday. Every moment can become a new beginning. Then there is attachment. Buddhism teaches that craving and attachment are major causes of suffering, but this doesn't mean we should stop loving. It doesn't mean we should stop having goals. And it doesn't mean we should become cold or indifferent. It means learning the difference between love and possession. We can love someone without needing to control them. We can enjoy something without believing we cannot live without it. We can appreciate success without making our identity depend upon it. Attachment says, I need this to remain exactly as it is. Wisdom says, I appreciate this while understanding that it can change. Imagine holding a beautiful flower. If you squeeze it tightly because you're afraid of losing it, you destroy the very thing you wanted to protect. But if you hold it gently, appreciating its beauty while knowing it will eventually fade, you experience it differently. This is non-attachment. It is not indifference. It is love without possession. It is appreciation without fear, and it creates freedom. When we stop demanding that life obey our expectations, we create space for peace. Life will not always follow your plans. Sometimes you will work hard and still fail. Sometimes you will love someone and they will leave. Sometimes you will make plans and circumstances will completely change them. Sometimes you will do everything you can, and the result will still be different from what you wanted. This is where acceptance becomes essential. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It doesn't mean allowing people to mistreat you. It doesn't mean refusing to change difficult circumstances. Acceptance simply means seeing reality clearly before deciding what to do about it. If you can change something, take wise action. If you cannot change it, ask yourself whether continuing to fight reality is helping you. There is a famous story about a farmer named Aaron and his horse. One day, Aaron's horse runs away. His neighbors come to him and say, "What terrible luck," Aaron simply replies, "Who knows?" A few days later, the horse returns with several wild horses. The neighbors say, "What wonderful luck." Again, Aaron says, "Who knows?" Later, Aaron's son, Curran, tries to tame one of the wild horses and falls, breaking his leg. The neighbors say, "What terrible luck." Again, Aaron answers, "Who knows?" Soon afterward, soldiers arrive to recruit young men for war. Because Curran is injured, he is left behind. What seemed like bad fortune became good fortune. What seemed like good fortune created difficulty. The lesson is simple. We often judge experiences too quickly. We see one moment and believe we understand the whole story, but life is larger than our immediate perspective. Sometimes we don't yet know what an experience will lead to. This is why acceptance can be so powerful. We don't need to label every event as good or bad immediately. Sometimes we can simply say, "This is what is happening right now," and then ask, "How can I respond wisely?" There will be moments in life that hurt deeply. A relationship ends. A dream collapses. A career changes direction. Someone disappoints you. You experience rejection. You lose something you believed you would have forever. In these moments, it is natural to ask, "Why me?" But another question can slowly open a different door. What can I learn from this? Maybe the experience teaches patience. Maybe it reveals an attachment you didn't realize you had. Maybe it shows you that your identity was built around something temporary. Maybe it teaches you to establish boundaries. Maybe it awakens compassion. Maybe it reminds you that you are stronger than you thought. This doesn't mean that suffering is good, and it doesn't mean that every tragedy has a simple explanation. Sometimes suffering is simply suffering, but even when we cannot choose what happened, we can choose what we do with what happened. Pain can become bitterness, or pain can become wisdom. A wound can remain open, or, with time and care, it can become part of our understanding. The experience may not have been something we wanted, but we can still decide what meaning we give it. There is also a well-known story about a person who finds a butterfly struggling to escape its cocoon. Wanting to help, the person opens the cocoon. The butterfly emerges, but its wings are weak. The struggle it needed to develop its strength was removed. The story offers a powerful metaphor. Some difficulties develop qualities within us that comfort never could. Patience is developed through waiting. Courage is developed through uncertainty. Resilience is developed through difficulty. Compassion often grows after we understand pain ourselves. This doesn't mean we should seek suffering. It means that when difficulty arrives, we can ask what qualities it is inviting us to develop. Instead of saying, "How do I escape this experience?" we can sometimes ask, "What is this experience asking me to become?" There is another reason we suffer so much. Our minds constantly move through time. We replay the past. We imagine the future. We remember what someone said. We worry about what might happen tomorrow. We create entire stories inside our minds. But life itself is always happening now. Mindfulness is the practice of returning to this moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Now, notice your breathing. Feel your body sitting where it is. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice the movement of air. Observe your thoughts. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to believe every thought. You simply notice. A thought appears. You observe it, it changes. Another thought appears. You observe that one too. Like clouds moving across the sky, thoughts can come and go without becoming your identity. This is an important realization. You are not every thought that appears in your mind. You can observe anger without becoming anger. You can observe fear without becoming fear. You can observe sadness without believing that sadness will last forever. Mindfulness creates space, and inside that space, wisdom can appear. Imagine someone says something hurtful to you. Your first instinct might be anger. You might immediately want to respond. You might say something you later regret, but mindfulness gives you another possibility. Pause, breathe. Notice what is happening inside you. Your heart is beating faster. Your body is tense. Anger is rising. Instead of immediately acting on it, you observe it. Then you choose. You can still speak. You can still protect yourself. You can still establish boundaries. But now you are responding rather than simply reacting. That difference can transform relationships. It can transform families. It can transform workplaces, and ultimately, it can transform your life. Buddhism places enormous importance on understanding the mind. Because the same event can produce completely different experiences depending on how we interpret it. Two people can face the same difficulty. One sees only disaster. The other sees a challenge that can be faced one step at a time. The external event may be similar, but their inner relationship with it is different. This doesn't mean we can simply think our way out of every problem. Real suffering is real, loss is real, grief is real, but our interpretation can add another layer of suffering. Something happens. Then the mind says, this shouldn't be happening. This always happens to me. My life is ruined. I will never be happy again. Now the original pain has been joined by a story. Mindfulness helps us recognize the difference between the event and the story we build around it. We begin to see thoughts as thoughts, and when we see them clearly, they have less power over us. You don't need to live in a monastery to practice these teachings. You can practice while drinking tea, while walking, while speaking with your family, while waiting in traffic, while working. While facing disappointment, you can practice patience when someone irritates you. You can practice non-attachment when something doesn't go according to plan. You can practice compassion when someone is struggling. You can practice mindfulness when your mind begins racing toward the future. And you can practice acceptance whenever reality differs from your expectations. Spiritual growth is not always found in extraordinary experiences. Sometimes it is hidden in ordinary moments. The next time someone annoys you, pause. The next time a plan changes, breathe. The next time you experience loss, allow yourself to feel it without believing it will last forever. The next time you make a mistake, learn from it instead of defining yourself by it. Small moments become a life, and small choices shape who we become. Buddhism also teaches interdependence. Nothing exists completely by itself. Our lives are connected to other people, nature, society, circumstances, and countless causes we may never see. The food we eat depends on farmers, soil, water, sunlight, transportation, and countless human hands. Our words influence other people. Their reactions influence us. Our choices affect our families. Our families influence communities. Communities shape societies. This means that our lives are not isolated. Every act of kindness has the potential to travel further than we realize. A smile can change someone's mood. A patient response can prevent an argument. An apology can repair a relationship. A generous action can inspire another generous action. We may never see the full consequences of what we do, but that doesn't make our choices meaningless. It makes them important. So, does everything happen for a reason? Perhaps the deepest lesson is not that every event was somehow destined to happen exactly as it did. Buddhism doesn't require us to believe that every tragedy was planned for us. Instead, it teaches us to understand causes and conditions, impermanence, karma, attachment, and the mind. Things happen because countless conditions come together. And once something happens, we have an opportunity to meet it with awareness. So instead of saying, everything happened because it was meant to happen, we might say, whatever has happened, I can meet it with wisdom. That is a much more empowering perspective. You don't have to understand the entire path. You only need to take the next wise step. If life brings loss, learn to let go. If life brings uncertainty, learn patience. If life brings success, remain humble. If life brings pain, listen deeply. If life brings love, appreciate it. If life brings change, flow with it. And when you don't know what comes next, return to the present. Take a moment now. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Take a slow breath in and gently breathe out. Think about something in your life that you have been resisting, something you wish had happened differently, something you are still trying to control. Now imagine placing that struggle gently beside you. You don't have to solve it right now. You don't have to understand it completely. Simply acknowledge, this is part of my life. Then remind yourself, this moment will change. Your emotions will change. Your circumstances will change. Your understanding will change. You will change, and that is not something to fear. It is the nature of life. Perhaps the purpose of the journey is not to control every experience. Perhaps it is to become wiser through experiencing them, to become more compassionate, more patient, more present, more accepting, more awake. Life will continue to bring moments we understand and moments we don't. There will be beginnings and endings. There will be gain and loss. There will be joy and sorrow. But through all of it, we can learn to remain present. We can choose our actions. We can release what we cannot control. We can stop asking why life refuses to follow our plans. And begin asking, what is this moment asking me to learn? That question can change everything, because peace doesn't come from making life permanent. Peace comes from understanding that life is always changing. Peace doesn't come from controlling every outcome. Peace comes from learning how to respond. Peace doesn't come from avoiding suffering. Peace comes from meeting suffering with awareness and compassion. And happiness doesn't necessarily come from getting everything we want. Sometimes it comes from appreciating what is here, right now. So remember, nothing stays forever. Every action creates consequences. Every attachment can become a source of suffering. Every moment offers a choice. And every experience can become an opportunity for awareness. You may not be able to control the river, but you can learn how to flow with it. You may not be able to stop the seasons, but you can learn to appreciate each one. You may not be able to prevent every difficult experience, but you can decide who you become because of them. And perhaps that is where true freedom begins. Not in controlling life, but in understanding it. Not in resisting change, but in flowing with it. Not in demanding that everything happen according to our wishes, but in meeting whatever comes with wisdom, compassion, and an open heart. Life is happening now. This breath is happening now. This moment is happening now. And perhaps for today, that is enough. Take a breath, let go, trust the process of change, and take the next step with awareness. If these words brought you even a little peace, don't keep them to yourself. Share this message with someone who may be going through a difficult chapter right now. And if you want more reflections on Buddhism, mindfulness, inner peace, and the wisdom hidden inside life's hardest moments, follow or subscribe and join us for the next journey. Remember, you may not control what happens next, but you can always choose how you meet it. Take a breath, let go, and take your next step with awareness.